hills ascend and the lungs burn with effort, but the summit offers a breathtaking view, a moment of pure exhilaration. This is the trail, the dance of human will against the wild, a place where life is stripped down to its bare essentials, breath, motion, and the endless ancient ground. Is trail running a place for mindfulness and solitude? Or is it a new big craze in the world of running, or is it just a load of old
And did Rick find a lovely poem on the internet somewhere?
maybe?
Yeah, I enjoyed it though. And I remember a time when I never thought I'd even consider trail running, or certainly the hardcore version of trail running. We're going to talk about lots of different versions of trail running. I was definitely road and track through and through, even though we grew up on cross country. So yeah, my attitude's definitely changing towards it. And there's some real elements of trail running and the modern versions of trail running that I find appealing.
Honestly, I think it's the best thing in the world. And Rick, by the end of this episode, I guarantee you will want to get out onto the trails. And we're going to be talking about why it seems that so many people are turning to the trails, why races like UTMB, Arc of Attrition, Western States, Hard Rock are all becoming so popular.
Well, if you don't convince me, maybe Sam King can, because Sarah's been speaking with Sam King. This is the guy who's done 74 ultramarathons in 74 days. He's currently in the middle of it. You've been speaking to him about why he's a madman. Yeah,
and we've also got a question about track running. So we're covering the whole kind of spectrum of running today. But yeah, you're listening to the Running Channel podcast. Let's get stuck in.
Ba-da!
I did some trail running at the weekend.
Oh, yeah?
I took on a cross-country race.
Oh, yeah.
Did you wear cross-country spikes?
No, I did not.
Is this because of our chat that you did this, by the way?
Did we have a chat?
We had a chat about cross-country.
Yeah,
Oh.
on the
Yeah, let's go with yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
so
That
given that
was
Sarah couldn't even remember, we'd have that chat.
Right.
It's running
So
through
no.
my brain.
So no.
No, to be fair, I feel like I wanted to understand the world of cross country, and my running club enters into a cross country league every year.
So would you count cross-country running as trail running?
Ooh, I would actually.
Even if you're running across like, I'm sure you weren't, but across like the football pitches, which is a lot of like school cross-country.
We did start. I'll show
like
you
a
a
playing
picture.
field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know the is it Parliament Hill where there's like the big like cross country start? It
Yeah.
was like a mini version of that.
That's an
and
epic
we
start.
ran across a field into some woods, two-lapper. It was great.
Enjoyed it.
Enjoyed is a strong
Did you enjoy
word.
it afterwards, having done it?
Yeah.
Distance?
So because it was about 8.5k, and because it was 2 laps, I was trying to count on the first lap how many hills there were where my legs just felt like absolute death.
Yeah.
Because earlier in the week we'd
All of
done all of them. Earlier in the week we'd done quite a hard challenge, and that definitely was still sitting in my legs. And there was a fair amount of pressure because a lot of the really fast women in my team were elsewhere at the weekend running marathons, Brighton 10k.
So were you a scorer?
I was a scorer.
Stop it. This is exciting.
Second lady back.
Amazing.
for the
Great
team.
job.
However, after lap 1, I was first.
Yeah.
Lady, as in like within my running club.
Yeah. So you'd overcooked it in the first lap.
Overcooked it, yeah.
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 Okay.
Although my first K and my 5th K were basically the same.
Yeah.
But then just throughout the rest of the second lap, it really
Sort of-
hurt.
Yeah, I find I was talking to someone recently about sort of more elite cross country. We're coming up to the trials for the European Cross Country Championships, things like that. And the biggest difference when track runners like myself go and run cross country, because I did used to do that. I have to run 10k cross country in like the middle of November in freezing cold and all the rest of it, is that it's on the track, you know exactly how fast you're running. You get your lap splits and all that sort of stuff. I mean, I don't think any of the sort of elite or sub-elite runners are really running in a GPS watch and looking at that. It's much more, you just got to keep up. And I used to treat it, before I had the revelation that you can't do it like this, I would treat those races like the track, and I'd go off at a perfect even pace, think I'm just going to run this pace the whole way.
Yeah.
But you get more tired because of the surface, so you
Yeah.
can't hold a consistent pace in the same way. And the best cross-country runners, they just go hard from the start. And if you're not kind of in it to win it, you can't ever make that time back. And so I used to find myself picking my way through the field, but the guys at the front had just disappeared off, and I never.
Oh, interesting.
I
Well,
never
that
got
is
back
the
to them.
tactic that I took.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So I think
I
to
just-
do cross country properly, you actually just have to go hard and hang in there for as long as you
Which
possibly
is
can
really
if you want to be
funny.
competitive.
For every other type of running, I feel like you have to train yourself not to do
Exactly.
that. Whereas in cross country, it's fine. But yeah, you do
Did
get
you wear
in-
spikes?
No, so I need to find. It's going to be so hard because every cross country meet you're in a a different place. But it was the type of mud that just sticks
Oh, I hate that.
to your
Like
shoe.
clay mud, right? Like
Yeah,
it just builds
so
up,
you
so your shoes get heavier and heavier and heavier.
Yeah, and I don't know if there is like either. So there were all different. I was looking at everyone's shoes because I couldn't look at my watch because there were so many tree roots in the woods. So all I had my eyes on was just the ground in front of me to make sure I didn't trip over. And I was looking at everyone's shoes. There were people there in just road shoes
Yeah.
that were basically. It looked like everyone was
Slipping and
wearing
sliding.
little hovercraft boots by
Yeah.
the end because there was so much mud and your feet were just so heavy. So I tried quite a deep lug, kind of more like a hockey boot feel shoe.
Like a fell shoe almost.
But I'm wondering whether I need something just more nimble. And I was getting loads of tips from people afterwards of like run on the leaves to then let the mud drop off of your shoe, run a bit more flat footed because that then means that it doesn't stick so much and it like
Interesting.
comes off.
Well, I just hovercrafted through it.
Yeah,
When I
I
was
mean, you
running.
probably didn't pick
Yeah.
up any leaves at all because your feet never touched the ground.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Just floated over the surface.
I need to try that. I was absolutely trudging. And you know when you can feel your form
Yeah.
is I honestly must have looked about like 105. I was that bent over by the end.
I've got a philosophical question for you because it links to today's topic, and then I can maybe do a bit of a catch up briefly on my marathon training. The philosophical question is: when is cross country? What's the line between cross country and trail running? Because
I think
to a lot of
trail-
people, trail running is just not on the road, right?
Yeah,
And cross country is not on the road.
I think cross country is just a very specific form of trail running.
Where it's
I
always a
think-
race, right? You
Yeah.
don't just go out and run cross country.
Also,
Yeah.
I think because cross country is usually in the winter,
Yeah.
you need a bit of mud, you need a bit of
Yeah.
awful
Yeah.
grit.
Not
a
true
race in the
cross-country
winter with a football pitch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And-
it's
and-
got to
and-
start on
And I
grass.
Yeah.
assume, like, I'll be very disappointed if this isn't the case. I assume that at some point on the course, there would have been either metal or plastic stakes in the ground with some like fluttering plastic tape to mark
Yeah.
the corners out.
Yeah.
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 I feel like it's not a cross country race without that.
Oh, to mark the corners. Yeah, there were little spikes, like
Yeah.
little teeny tiny flags.
Yes.
There was one place it made me laugh. You know, we were talking about, was it last week, the bollards?
Yeah.
And people like
Oh,
crunching
yeah.
into the bollards. So there was one bit where it was marshalled, so the road was like closed off and
Yeah.
you just had to cross over a road. But there were 3 concrete bollards that were, it looked like they'd been decorated for Christmas.
Had they put mats out over the road
tape.
or like wood chip or anything like that? That's what they used to do.
No, it wasn't that serious cross country. So
had
if
to
you
just-
were in
spikes,
spikes,
you'd have gone clack, 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 clack,
Yeah,
clack,
yeah.
clack across the
Ooh,
concrete.
there wasn't two much. They
Yeah.
did. They put matting down on some steps down,
Yeah, so you don't slip.
which I enjoyed.
Yeah, interesting. They'd often put down, either if it was really, really muddy or if you were going to run across a bit of concrete, because everyone would have spikes, someone else running, they'd put down that kind of loose wood chip that you'd get on like
Yeah.
playgrounds and stuff.
Break
but the
that.
worst, which is great.
Oh,
but
does it not
then your
spike
spikes
in?
skewer them.
Yeah.
And then you end up running for like 100 meters trying to kick them off.
With the chips
Yeah,
attached to
I
you.
actually watched a bit of the.
It's like a little barbecue, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's cute.
I watched a little bit of the Cardiff cross country race recently, which was one of the higher end British races on the circuit. And the lead runner, Megan Keith, who we spoke to out in Tokyo,
Oh, yeah.
actually, she had to stop and take a bit of wood or like something that got stuck to one of her spikes. So, yeah.
Honestly,
They-
I think that's going to be the next shoe invention, isn't it? 2030, they will have
Self-cleaning
problem
spikes.
solved that. Yeah.
AI will
There'll
do
be
it.
a little button where you're just like cleaned.
Yeah, and it just does it like windscreen wipers on a car
Yeah.
or something, but a few spikes.
We all ran a marathon together in the last week.
We did. We can't reveal what happened, but
That's
we
what Sarah's just talking about, struggling from being a bit sore from last week.
Yeah, it turns out when you attempt to run a 2:30 marathon as a team of 8,
Yeah.
the DOMs are pretty bad.
Yeah, 8's not enough people, is it really?
8's really
So actually,
not
I
enough,
was fine.
especially with Rick. Well, how far did you run?
2.5K.
How far did you run, Sarah?
I did. What did I do? 10. No, I did 9 laps in
Of
this.
500.
9 500s.
So yeah, so only 4.5.
4.5.
How far did you go,
I did
Andy?
8K.
Yeah.
8K.
Yeah.
We had a good team though.
Had to make
we had
it
a good
correct,
team.
didn't I?
Honestly, it was such a fun day out.
And that was
Sort of
for
fun. Oh, I
2.5
didn't enjoy it.
hours.
It was so cold and it was so windy, wasn't it?
Oh,
Do you know what
my
though?
gosh.
It wasn't actually that cold.
Well,
wasn't
compared to
that
today,
cold.
actually,
Yeah,
it
the
wasn't
wind
that
was bad,
cold.
though.
Yeah.
The wind was really bad, like really, really
I
bad.
brought like camping chairs, a blanket.
Yeah,
all
we
sorts
did it
of
on a cycling circuit underneath the Heathrow flight
path,
path in West London.
Rick literally turned up and he was like, "What on earth?"
stuff. Well,
Whoa,
you
whoa.
wouldn't know
we
that cycle
come
path was, you
here?
wouldn't know that cycle track was there, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
Yeah, you
No,
know.
it
middle
was
of
so
nowhere.
cool.
Middle of
though.
nowhere. And the aim was for the 6 or 7 of us to run sub 2:30.
Eight.
Is it 8?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was eight of us. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
because we had
Steph, Anya
Anya
from Runner.
and Steph. Yeah, from
And
Runner.
then Andre, member of the Running Channel Club.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And took part after fresh off with the back of his
It was
New York
close.
Marathon success.
I can
We
say that
really
much, it was
unlocked
close.
a new pace for Andre.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
said that was the fastest he'd ever run in his life.
Yeah. Also, I'm going to embarrass producer Owen here.
Yeah.
Because 2 days prior to us going out and doing it was looking so chilled, wasn't it, Owen?
Oh,
like Owen had done all of them pacing maths.
Oh, I've seen some maths
And,
scrawled
like,
on the whiteboard in the next
you-
room, actually.
You were going to
The
know
maths
that was
was
the
bad.
correct maths.
Oh, okay.
I helped with that.
maths
And when I
was
say
really
me,
bad.
I mean Mark. So 2 days prior, everyone was running like their pace. So like you, Rick, were running like 4 something.
4:30.
Andre was running like 5 something, I
Yeah,
think. And then
5:30,
you
yeah.
were doing, Andy, the
3:20 or
actual
something, yeah.
pace. No, I don't even
Or
think it was
3:30
faster.
per
I think you were just
kilometre,
doing like 3:30. And then we were like, isn't that mad though that like we can still hit the pace on average? And then Mark was like,
Well, you can't.
I don't think that's right.
Yeah.
And then basically the night before, me, Owen, and Mark were just sat with our huge whiteboard in our meeting room, being like, I'm not sure we can actually even
Do it.
do it
Yeah.
at all.
Oh, it was so
you have to
tense.
watch
It was so
to
tense.
find
Well, and
out.
then just to give a glimpse behind the curtain into what you'll see in the video, I imagine, is that Sarah, I think, had written all the names upon the whiteboard in 2 columns, because you got to the bottom of the whiteboard at about 21 kilometres,
Yeah.
and then had to carry on at the top of the right-hand side of the whiteboard. And didn't realise that you put the same person on consecutive legs, effectively giving them no recovery. So
Giving
then
them a double.
Frantically had to
I did-
scramble to
A
change
double-
that around. And
I
then
did
double
say to Anya,
kilometre.
I was like, fancy
just keep
2K?
going.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Go for it.
Do you want to go do that?
So I had to do that as part of my marathon training.
Yeah, how's
Uh,
marathon training going?
It's 3 weeks to go. I'm building back up, and we are following me around this week to see how my training goes.
Kind of gutted we're not going, Sarah.
To the
Are you?
marathon?
Yeah.
Well, considering how cold it is today, I would like to go somewhere a bit
To
warmer.
Valencia, yeah, it'd be nice. I got my 90 minutes done yesterday, which isn't a particularly long marathon run, but because of the niggles I've had in the past few weeks, it's the longest one I've done in a few weeks, and that was really good. I was pleased with myself. I just kind of got into the rhythm and got ticking around, went around on my own, which I don't like, but I need to train myself mentally to do it. And then halfway around, this is not related to running at all, but it shows I was in a pretty good headspace, I think, because I was just thinking about totally random things. I've got no idea what triggered this memory, but it's a little story about Rick that I remember from growing up. And it's, I don't know whether anyone remembers this,
Uh-oh.
and people listening. It's not that bad.
Go on.
So me in particular, was at the mobile phones came to be a thing as I was growing up. And then you'd obviously have your friends' numbers in your phone, but you'd also have your friends' parents' numbers, which is their landline, so where they lived when they're home. I don't know whether this is still a thing, but if you texted, this is back then, if you texted a landline by mistake, then the landline would ring as if you were receiving a phone call.
Yes, I
And then it
remember
would
doing
read the
this.
message out to you. So
This is a
I've done
flashback.
this
yeah.
before.
So I
Yeah.
remember several times this happened. It was not a one-off. That I'd be like fast asleep on a Friday night or something at my house, 2 a.m. The phone would ring, and then and it was much closer to my parents' bedroom than mine. So you just hear my dad like, oh bloody hell, what time is it? 2 in the morning, oh. And then he'd get there, he'd answer the phone, and then I'd probably pick it up downstairs to see what was happening.
Oh God.
And you'd just hear, you have received a message from 07. Bing, 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 bing. And Rick had a very recognizable phone number. It was very easy to remember. One of the very few people's phone numbers that I can remember from a mobile perspective. And then you'd get like this nonsense text message at 2 a.m. that's woken up our entire house. And it would either be 1, quite puerile, 2, quite sweary, and 3, definitely pointless. So then, you could pick up 2 landlines, like one upstairs and one downstairs, and you could both listen at the same time.
Yeah.
That's what would have happened. My dad would be upstairs listening to this, and I'm downstairs going, oh God, oh God, oh God. As Rick's message gets read out to my dad. And it'd just be like, oh, I'm absolutely hammered. Or so-and-so, one of our
Mate,
friends'
I
names, has just done X, Y, Z. You'll never guess what's happened tonight. I'm painting a very polite version of the kind of messages I might have received.
Yeah, that's actually quite good grammar for you.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was. I'm
Yeah.
drinking a Smirnoff Ice in a lake.
Yes, exactly. That would have been
Stunning.
something like that. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
That's a bit of
trail
a-
running.
Oh, if only you could do that now. Yeah.
Yes.
Let's talk about trail running.
Yeah, because ultimately, I've said this to you maybe, that so as we enter 2026, get this marathon out of the way. I know I've got unfinished business time-wise with half marathons, etc. But I also like the idea of doing something that isn't focused on time and is focused on a mindset that I don't possibly feel I have, which is like that slightly attritional, like I'm going to get around this. Whether it is 20k, 10k on the trails, whether it is like a 50k ultra on the trails.
Yeah.
It's a challenge that appeals to me, doing it somewhere really, really beautiful where I can actually stop and look at the fields or the equivalent of the fields.
I mean, it's a challenge that appeals to you, but it seems like it's a challenge that appeals to an increasing amount of people.
Not you though, right?
No. Some of the stats around this, though, are amazing. So trail running actually taken as its own sport and away from just general runners.
Road running, yeah.
Yeah, seventh fastest growing sport in the US. And then Strava data shows that there's been a 16% growth in log trail runs in 2023.
I actually saw another Strava stat, which
That's
is
incredible in 1 year.
Which
I
is that
like
like
to
Gen
think-
Z women increased trail uploads to Strava 6.5 times the volume.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Over a 3-year period.
let's break
so
that
it's different
stat.
age groups as well. That are
I
getting
see what
into
you
it.
mean. But if you break that stat down, couldn't that just be more people on Strava?
Yeah, it could.
So
Probably, but I also like to think that we've had an impact on that as well, because if you are someone who dabbles in road and dabbles in trail, always log your trail runs as a trail run, because otherwise it
Yeah.
can play
I
havoc
see what you mean.
with your VO2
Yeah.
max.
Oh yeah, that's on your. I mean, you can change how you log it on Strava, I think. But yes, if you set up a different kind of activity on your Garmin, like a different activity profile. So we're all using Garmin watches, but if you can, instead of just going run and then generic logging everything as a run, you can actually set up an activity profile for trail run, which means you get a different impact on your VO2 max. Because if you do all your running on the road and then all of a sudden start doing runs on the trail, your watch is going to think you're less fit if you just log it as the same kind of run, because you're running way slower and your heart rate's going to be higher. So it thinks you're
My
like
cross
losing
country
fitness.
yesterday was a trail run.
Yeah, fair
Because
enough.
I was like, my heart rate's going to be really high here. Yeah, I think it's growing in popularity as well because of everything that you said, Andy, because there's so much of a focus on running on the road, getting faster, wanting a good time. I actually think
Yeah, me
that,
included. Sometimes I find that motivating, but not always.
yeah, and I actually think trail running is so different. Like if you finish a trail race, it doesn't matter if it's a marathon, a 10k, a half, like any of the recognizable distances, where sometimes if you say like, oh, I did a half marathon race at the weekend, and someone go, most of the time, the next question that you would expect is, oh, cool. How long did it take you?
Yeah.
How fast did you do it in?
Which
Whereas
we would
if you
encourage
say
people
like,
not to say, should be like, how'd you go?
Yeah,
Or like,
how
did you enjoy
was it?
Yeah.
yeah. But I think if you say like, oh, I did a trail race at the weekend, the question that people will ask you next is like, oh, how long was it?
Yeah.
And then you can start to talk
Yeah.
about like, it was this with this amount of elevation. I just think it's a totally different approach.
It's distance
if
over time.
It's still,
like I've done 2 50k trail races, and there is a 6-hour time difference between my 2 times of both of them. So you just can't even start to compare them.
Yeah.
For your trail races, what percentage did you walk?
Ooh, good question. I was actually looking at this the other day.
why are you about to say it's not going to count?
No, 'Cause clearly it does with ultras and trail running.
I know
Yeah.
you kind of running, mate.
Well, I'm not
just-
going to go back to doing a marathon.
joking,
You've done
I'm
a
joking.
marathon. You've not run a marathon if you've walked it. But
You're getting us all in trouble.
yeah, I know. But obviously with trail running and with ultra marathons, I spoke to Tom. He did 38k at the weekend,
Yeah.
and he said he walked about 50% of it.
Yeah.
Now, he's still.
Yeah.
Just completed it.
Well, with an ultra marathon,
Yeah, the strategy for
the strategy is different, isn't it?
I
a
honestly
lot of
think
people walk the uphills, right?
Yeah,
'Cause some of them
because
aren't
you
runnable.
you can be far more efficient if you look at it this way. If you run up an uphill, which like the elites will do, some people might do because of how some people might find the downhills, they're not quite conditioned. So you might walk the downhills and run the
Yeah.
uphills depending on how you feel physically. Personally, for me, I would, depending on the like steepness of the hill, I would walk it, because then you're getting like an active, it feels like you're getting an active rest. And then when you come back onto a flat or a downhill section, what goes up usually comes back down.
So what's your percentage?
It would depend how hilly it is, but probably on those two, they're pretty even. So maybe like 60% running, 40% walking,
Okay.
depending on how long.
I think this is probably quite a revelation to a lot of people, including me, because one of the
Really?
I still don't want to do it, but one of the reasons I've been so turned off by it is the thought of running. Whereas if you say, I'll go for a nice walk in the country,
Yeah.
stop off at a few pubs, have a nice day out.
Yeah.
This sounds like a good fun thing to
I do think though it's a different, so it really challenges you mentally, because if in all of other areas of your running, if you've never adopted a run walk strategy, then trail running does take a bit of adjustment. Because one I would say, like, if you're going trail running for the first time, do not use a watch screen which you're used to. Like, just put it on heart rate, or like put it on a map,
Don't
or
put it in your heart rate.
literally just put
That'd
it
be
on
hard.
the time, because
Or navigation or something.
or navigation, because it does take a little bit of getting used to, of like persuading yourself to start running again after you've been walking is quite hard. But then once you like lock into, okay, I'm on a trail run, I'm gonna run this bit, I'm gonna walk this bit, I'm gonna stop here, it feels a lot more
Yeah.
like relaxed.
That's what I mean. I'm deadly serious about this, by the way. I think when you explain it in that way and say it's 60%, you don't have to go and run it all. I think
No.
it feels more chunkable.
Yeah, do you think the idea of, so I don't really remember any visual sights of my marathon, of Valencia Marathon. Like I don't remember thinking, oh my gosh, that was beautiful.
What about when you saw me on the last K?
I thought, what a sight for sore eyes, because you've been so bloody lazy, you haven't gone to any of the
You
rest
can
of it.
tell he was out late last night.
Yeah,
Look
exactly.
at his eyes.
I was like,
You don't remember any sights?
a little bit, like it's a blur, as opposed to I like.
Beautiful finish where you come into
Oh,
the
I remember
waterway.
that. I was absolutely
The blue carpet. I
that,
feel
blue
like
yeah,
carpet.
I do remember that bit, but I don't remember. I
Right,
sort of have
honestly-
an image of the marina and the sea, but
Yeah.
not really. Whereas the idea of, because I was running and I'm so focused on time and like when I'm going to take my gels and all that sort of stuff, it's a very different experience to what I imagine. And I can't say I've done it, but this is the appeal for me next year. Is like, if there's something where I know I'm going to walk, because that's part of my strategy, and I know I'm going to stop to take on some potentially like in inverted commas real food that isn't sports nutrition, because I would probably be combining the two
Yeah.
to go out there for that long. Then actually, like the fact that we joke, you mercilessly for the first 2 years of this podcast took the pee out of me for like stopping and looking at fields.
Correct.
But imagine doing that on the side of a mountain, or
Yeah,
like
'cause
up a
9
volcano,
times out of
or
10.
wherever you might be. And not everyone's running trails there, but like that's what appeals to me, is doing something truly epic.
That's what I even like about, like, if I get out on the trails near where I live, I can basically come out into a field, and then I call it, do you remember like the Windows XP background?
Yeah.
Do, 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 do.
Yeah.
And it was just like the big rolling hill. So you can get onto a section that's like that, maybe within 5K of leaving my house.
Yeah, that's nice.
But you don't get the view unless you turn around. So you have to stop as you're
Or do
like
it out and back.
doing this climb. Yeah, but then even on, I don't know, I think the beauty of trail running is you kind of have to stop sometimes, because
Yeah.
you're either looking at your feet, because it's a little bit
Yeah.
precarious of how or where you're running, even if it's just tree routes. You have to stop and take in the view, and it's lovely.
Yeah, I'm naive to this, because in my head, I'm picturing the fact that I'm on a mountain or a volcano or whatever.
And it's just a lovely smooth track.
But yeah, it's like a manicured gravel trail like you get around Richmond Park. That's
Yeah, that might be a bit of a shock to
Yeah,
you.
maybe I
might
need
need to condition your feet a little bit for
yeah,
that as
feet,
well.
ankles, knees, all that sort of stuff would,
Yeah.
I think for me I'm quite linear. And so like the idea of that proprioception and that lateral movement that happens naturally when you've got to go up and over rocks and all that sort of stuff.
Do you know, how would you describe Andy?
Linear.
Linear. Do you know what came to my mind? A rigid beanpole.
A rigid beanpole.
Okay, I like that.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I don't know, I just think your running style is...
Rigid beanpole. I-
Rigid-
Hang on.
catch myself looking at it.
Andy's running style, Sarah, is effortless. Like, I was watching him last week. He is quite annoying to be with, because he looks
Just generally.
he looks like he's not making any effort.
That is
but he's going
so-
so fast. So we were basically sprinting in these 500-meter half loops of our sub 2:30 attempt at doing a marathon as a team, and he's just kind of like hanging out, just kind of floating along. It doesn't
Yeah.
look like he's going fast,
No.
but he's going double us.
Yeah, you know, so you were doing K on, K off,
Yeah.
and you were like buddied up with Steph Kessel from
Yeah.
Runner. She was kind of getting annoyed at you in the first couple of reps,
Why?
because she was like, he's not going very fast. And then she was timing your reps, and she was like, God, he just doesn't look like he's going fast.
So based on appearances, she thought I was going slow.
She was like, why is he going so slow? Does he not know what we're trying to do?
Yeah.
And then she timed your rep because she just timed her rest.
Yeah.
And she was like, wow, blimey, no.
She was just...
He is motoring along.
Yeah, she was just shouting, that the linear beam pole.
It's not putting any effort in.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how my running style will translate to the trails, actually. So maybe let's stay tuned for that challenge in 2026.
Yeah, but
I would.
growing up where we grew up, that was mostly trail running.
Yeah, but I don't, and that's an interesting thing because the other thing is now we're talking about the growth of it. So like global trail running, it's grown 12% year on year since around 2010. So that's a huge percentage growth when you think about the cumulative growth over those years. But and UTMB is incredibly popular. 3 times many people applied for a bib this year than could actually have places.
Yeah.
And UTMB's only been going since the early 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think that it's a distinction of like what people call it? Like trail running didn't exist when I was in my teens. It wasn't
a thing.
The trail running wasn't a thing. Like it doesn't. No
it's
one
just
talked
running.
about
It's
it.
just running.
I do
Ultra
think
running wasn't a thing either.
we are going to need another like descriptive word for it potentially though, because I feel like road running, if you run a road race in the UK or you run a road race in America or you run a road race anywhere in the world,
it's pretty much the same.
You're running a road race.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar. If you run a trail race in Bedfordshire versus if you run a trail race in Chamonix UTMB,
this is what I'm getting
that's
at, right?
kind of no joke. And I feel like and you can run the same distance. So like Tom, for example, is taking on Hurtwood 50k in December. 50k, super hard race. But if you then compare that to OCC at UTMB, which I think is the equivalent, the like 50k, because also these races are called 50k. It could be anywhere between 50 and 60k. Yeah. But the amount
is that true? That's just blown out right out the window for me.
Yeah, so my Thailand by UTMB was 55, but it was called a 50k. I think it was like 54 point something because my watch died at the end.
Okay, no, thank you.
Yeah, but that's trail
this.
running.
Yeah.
It's like loosely, it's like cross country.
Yeah, so
like,
you're saying that it almost needs to have different categorizations because, and they're also, I think they'd be, whilst it might sound easy to dismiss something in Bedfordshire versus something in the Alps.
Yeah.
They'll be difficult for different reasons. Like I would say that a lot of trail running in the UK, even if the elevation's not all that, it'll be very sloppy and very like heavy underfoot and very slippy and slidey. And that is exhausting in a totally different way to picking your way over technical hard rocks and things like that.
Yeah, like there are some like phenomenal ultra runners who will do like the Spine, for example.
Yeah.
Who maybe it's like mountain running versus trail running. Because I would say like a lot of the races that you get in the UK, you get some phenomenal trail runners and kind of UK trail runners who would be like, oh no, wouldn't want to take on UTMB. And they may have done a 100 miler, but they've done a 100 miler in like grueling, wet, muddy, boggy conditions, but they haven't done it where you're like summiting mountains. So maybe you need like track running, road running, trail running, mountain running.
Well, it's all just running, isn't it? But I do think... I think
maybe we just don't even need a
do you need it? Do you need to break it up?
Do we need anything?
Well, on a slightly serious note, though, the demographics suggest that it's pretty dominated by men, as in 65% to 35%.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of road races now are getting a sort of more or less 50-50 split. Yeah,
exactly. So, but then if you are running on trails, it can be remote. So there's a personal safety issue there when you're out there. But then, Sarah, you said you thought it was even more skewed to men.
Yeah, I've run in a fair few trail races, and I would say I was actually really pleasantly surprised with the cross country I did at the weekend because I was in a pack of 6 or 7 women like throughout the entire second lap.
Was it a
which
mixed
is really
race?
Nice. Yeah,
mixed race. So you ran the same distance.
Yeah.
Because interestingly, I watched that Cardiff race I was talking about, and the men and women did not run the same distance.
Really?
Yeah.
What were the 2 different distances?
I can't remember. It was like, I want to say it's like 10k and then like 7 or 8k.
Oh, stuff like that is just like what do you think is going to happen when we run an extra 3k?
Yeah, but it's
like,
not.
Are you
Hang
going to fall out?
You're suggesting that it's a man who's made the decision.
Well, that was the reason why
we don't know that it was a man who made this. It's obviously there's a committee who've come up with that.
Yeah, no, I know.
It's very likely that committee is dominated by only men.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
There's a
Well,
big-
I just
So
feel
there's-
I feel
there's a
like you should
decision
have
that's
the
been made there
same.
by a
You
group
should
of
have
people.
the same distance.
Well, yeah, traditionally
agree.
growing up, all through the school system, it was different distances for the boys and the girls. And then
Well-
you get to the... So, like, yeah, I think that's...
Well, it's
but then
Everyone
people have been
come
pushing
and
to
do
change this because
do
it
that
doesn't
in
make any
tennis.
do
sense.
Do
the
that in
three
tennis now.
counties
In-
cross country league because you all get to run the same distance.
Yeah.
Because
But
who's
you-
waiting around for another
Exactly.
race?
Exactly. Oh, I get it. But you
but-
could have you could have this argument about tennis now. 3 sets instead of 5 sets.
Yeah, because I do actually
At Grand
think
Slams?
it's so much harder. Like how I would love to know the stat, and this probably does exist, of the amount of men's tennis matches where someone has been 2 sets down and has come back to win.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Because
And 1-3-2.
obviously it's hard,
Yeah.
it's grueling, it's a very long time. But if you're a woman, you've only got 2 sets. Do you know what I mean? And you could have a rubbish first 2 sets and then you could win 3.
Well,
But if you're a man, you can then win 3. Whereas if you're a woman, you can't. You've lost 2, bam, gone out of Wimbledon. See you next year. Do you know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, but then in athletics, you also have the heptathlon, which
Yeah.
is for
That's
men.
no, women.
For women.
So the women's
And
is
then
7
the-
events and the men's is 10. Yeah.
Men's is 10.
We've
That's
just
the only
strayed into
remaining-
a whole.
Yeah. Let's not open that can of worms right now. But like, I'd love to know at podcast@therunningchannel.com what people think about that. The kind of what do you see in your local races, the races that you've taken part in on the road and the trail? What do you think about the heptathlon and the decathlon, and about different distances in cross country? Because I know they are trying to even it out across the board. There's a lot of discussions, committees, all that stuff, voting on making sure that it's a push towards equality. Because it's not that long ago that men and women ran different distances at the Olympics
Yeah, I would say with the
in the
trail
distance events.
with the trail races that I've done, it definitely feels very male dominated. But I think from my perspective, the reason I would have been hesitant to take on races like that would just be quite often it's quite a long distance between checkpoints. So there is like a safety concern. But I would actually say most of the time the kind of the harder the race that you're taking on, so whether that's distance wise or elevation or just like if there is a long time between checkpoints, they're like more looked after you are. So
Yeah.
if you are a little bit off by trail racing, definitely go and give it a go because the races are super friendly and we need to see more women
Yeah.
on the start line.
And should we whiz through just a few, like, these are the reasons that we think trail running's so popular?
Yes.
So you're outside. There's some good science behind actually like seeing greenery, having a massive positive impact on your
Touching
mental health.
grass.
Yes, exactly. Feeling more connected to nature. The pandemic, like people got a lot of people took up running during the pandemic because you couldn't do anything else.
Yeah.
And loads of people moved out of cities or urban areas and were therefore running in the countryside more and exploring a little bit more. A lot of people shared new routes for walking and running during that period, so people did explore more. And then I think one of the biggest drivers is like the kind of slight undervaluing, or maybe that's not quite the right word, of the marathon and the road running distances, because so many people are doing it that now we're seeing more media stories that kind of glorify the attritional nature of these epic trail races, and that's sort of the next frontier or barrier that people are trying to take on.
Undervaluing is an interesting one because if you look at it, the stats still suggest that it's fewer than 2% of the country have actually run a marathon.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, but it used to be
It's a
1%.
perception.
yeah, true. Yeah,
it's growing.
yeah.
It's a perception, isn't
It's
it?
a
And-
perception,
yeah.
and especially if you live and work in it and you are a runner, it'll feel like everybody's run a marathon. In fact, they haven't.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of ways to run a marathon as well.
Well, and you don't have to do trail marathons. We could I would just be saying right now, if you haven't tried trail running, just do a little bit of research, find some people locally to go out and help you explore the trails, because that's the best way to do it. Because I put off joining my local running community for ages because I was so focused on the end of my pro career that it took me ages to actually find people. And then every single run that I've gone out on in the last 2 or 3 years with those local group of people, I'm like, oh, I didn't even know this was here. Like I'll be running past like my kid's school or whatever, and
Takes
they'll
you
just
to
take
new
a random
places.
turn.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden I'm in the woods or whatever. And
Completely.
Yeah.
I love that with housing estates as well.
Yeah, there's always stuff
like if
hidden
you just
behind
go
them.
to a random
Yeah.
housing estate and you're just like, ooh, this is nice.
Yeah.
Or like, oh, I didn't know this was here. I think as well, another one is media coverage has made a huge difference with trail running. You can now see like all of these different races on your screen as you're flicking through
it's a
social
sexier
media.
drone shot of the Alps than of I don't know, a British city.
Random road marathon in rain.
Yeah.
Yeah. One person who is not shy from social media is Sam King, who is currently taking on a mammoth challenge, a lot of it on trails. He's doing 74 ultramarathons in 74 days, and I caught up with him. So should we hear how it's going?
Let's do it.
You're 47 ultra marathons in. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling a lot better as of today than I did for the first 3 weeks. But actually now on day 47, I've finally adapted into it and settled into it. And as of right now, I'm feeling all right.
What's going through your head? How do you pull yourself together for the next day?
I'm running 74 ultra marathons in 74 days, one for every year of my mum's life before she fell ill, and to raise money for Headway UK. And we've fundraised quite a lot of money and the support has been absolutely incredible.
How's your mum doing?
29th of January this year, she had a bleed on the brain, which was a big shock and surprise. She's in her mid-70s, so she's not young, but she was really young at heart, very active, never been ill before. So that was a real shock. And the day that she got ill, we were told that she wasn't going to make it. So it was the worst day of my life. And amongst all of that, I quit my job and decided to do this challenge. But actually, it's only been in the last month or two since the challenge started that she has really started to show some improvements. And now she's like fully aware of what I'm doing. She asked how the running's going, and she's just getting better all the time.
You weren't always a runner. So do you mind telling us, like, how did you get into running and how has running transformed your life?
I've always been quite active. I've always been sporty. I was brought up around sport, but I was always the big guy. In school, I was always overweight and just I was a fat kid, and I got quite a lot of stick for it. And then I got into a gaming phase when I was in my teens. I was a severe gamer, sort of 12 to 18 hours a day on Call of Duty, and I was actually number one in the world on Call of Duty, which actually gets a bit more attention than the running these days. People are like, okay, yeah, you're doing all these ultras, but you were number one in the world on Call of Duty. So yeah, I was number one in the world on Call of Duty in my teens. I sort of left Frinton, where I grew up, to move to London for a job. And that's the sort of where I stopped gaming and started becoming a bit healthier. But actually, I didn't get into running straight away. I lost the weight in the gym and just making lifestyle changes and eating less and looking after myself a bit. But it did fall off. And my brother said to me, would you like to run the London Marathon? And this was the 2018 London Marathon. And I ran a 3 hour 29:44. But as soon as I crossed that finish line, I looked at my time. That was it. A new fire was lit and running was the path that I was going to go on. And it was always distance for me. And then I started like racing ultras, and then I won a few ultras, and then I started getting a bit faster, and then I did a 2:40 marathon. And all of a sudden I was like getting quite good at it. And then this year, yeah, mum got ill and it threw everything in my life into perspective. And I decided that this was a good time or opportunity to leave London, the stresses of a job, to spend time with family, and at the same time do this challenge that's been at the back of my mind in honor of her and to raise money. It was almost sort of came together perfectly, as in something I should do and can't ignore. So yeah, that's how I ended up deciding to run 74 ultras in 74 days.
How can people support you? What's the charity that you're raising money for? And how can people get involved?
It's an open invite. I'm always advertising where I'm running. I'm putting everything out on Instagram. So if you search for Sam King, you'll find me on Instagram, or Fatboy Sking, like Fatboy Slim, but Fatboy Sking. On my Instagram page in my bio, I've got the donation link. So yeah, if anyone's able to donate and support, then that would mean the world. And if anyone wants to or is able to share any of my videos or like or comment, then of course that just helps. I'm fundraising for Headway, who are a brain injury support charity. What we found this year when mum got really ill was that brain injuries are very complex. And if you're in a hospital and you're with a loved one who's got a brain injury, doctors can't predict or tell you what's going to happen to them because brains are too complicated. No single brain injury is the same as anyone else's, so everyone's path of recovery is different. Ever since I started fundraising with them, like the team at Headway have been incredibly supportive of me, and I don't think they're one of the major charities that gets a lot of people doing things like this to fundraise for them. They're a lot smaller, so yeah, I've really felt the love from them, and I'm really proud to be fundraising for them.
What have you learned so far? Can you, for someone who might be listening to this and will never take on a challenge so big, can you relate it to taking on a marathon or something that the rest of us might relate to?
Yeah, I mean, I was 19 stone before I started this journey. I'm not by any means an athlete. I've created all of this for myself. And I think with most things in life, the more that you stick at something, the better you get at it. And there's no sort of, with running, there's no shortcuts. You just have to slowly build up. You have to find a way to build it into your routine. I appreciate that not everyone will love running. I think the best way to get into it is to pick an event. So you've got a goal and then that's your motivation to train. But 5 or 6 years ago, I couldn't run 5K. I would have got injured if I tried to run a half marathon. And now I'm doing 74 ultras in a row. And that is because of the hard work in between then. And if I can do it, I think anyone can do it.
Love it. I'm going to take that into my next run. And hopefully loads of people listening to this will come out and join you, because you are well over halfway, but there is still a fair few to go. So huge best of luck. It's a phenomenal challenge. You look like you are effortlessly gliding through each day, and we are all behind you. So thanks so much and best of luck.
Thank you. It's a pleasure coming on. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, great to hear from him. Interesting, he wasn't getting enough coverage, but now he's getting loads, including here.
Really good, really good. And it shows the power of social media as well, not only on kind of helping him to raise money and awareness for such an amazing cause, but also you can see he's got like a new kind of pep in his step from just the fact that so many people are getting involved. He's chatting to so many people.
So
like
you've given him pep in his step.
Hey, he had pep before he started
I've never
talking
heard
to
that
me,
before, but I really
think
like it.
now he has more pep.
Yeah.
Pep in his step.
Pep in his step. Can you imagine though, he spoke so eloquently after literally of running an ultramarathon a few hours before?
I can't imagine.
No, thank you.
No.
No.
Sometimes I do
Incredible.
this for you guys with you guys for an hour on a Monday, and I feel like I've run an ultramarathon.
Cute. And
Did you say cute?
So you've given Rick some pep in his step.
Cute.
And today's question is from John Morley from Cambridge.
Hello, John.
Hello, John.
Do you know John?
What, just because he's from Cambridge?
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Do you ever get back to Cambridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. One of the most beautiful cities in the UK.
Do you think a runner's best distance is influenced by their personality?
Rick
Asked
says,
John Morley from Cambridge. For context, I'm a less good version of Andy.
I doubt that, John. There are many better versions.
I grew up on the track running 800 meters, just not as quick as the boss.
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Did
love
you
this guy.
pay him? Are you John?
Are you having a laugh?
I didn't write this. Thanks, John.
It is only now, my mid-40s, I'm switching to 5K, but I am suited to short, intense, all-out bursts. Not just with running, sorry, but at work and anything else I do.
Now,
Why are you
we're
giggling?
starting to
Why are
sound
you-
like Andy.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah.
this is so true.
Well, it's just not just in running.
You love
almost
a little
threw me.
short
You're going for a little bit of innuendo
listen,
there,
there's a
Rick.
question. There's a question here. Do you think there are a generation of
Sorry,
runners
I
growing
You
up
only just
with
got the innuendo. Brilliant. Sarah.
Sorry, I was thinking about how that relates to Andy.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
we should
I
have
think that
asked
was-
Louise this question.
Do you think there are a generation of
Steady
runners
on.
growing up with similar personality traits, missing out on their best event because everybody thinks 5K is a short distance and most people now seem to try 5K, 10K marathon, not track? Question.
Ooh, good question.
Yes. I do think people are missing out on it. I think that traditionally, we've talked about this before, I think, it used to pay your like dues on the track. That was how like you became. I appreciate not everyone wants to run the track if you're not looking to run at the elite or sub-elite level. But I do think that we're losing people to the road too quickly because that's like all you see on social media. That's
Losing people to the road. That's
Yeah.
quite dramatic.
well, because I think, but who...
You're losing them to the trails.
No,
now
essentially,
as
this
well.
is people not, what Andy's talking about is people not trying out the track.
Yeah.
Should we let Andy talk about
No,
what
No, I
he's
quite like you to
talking
decide.
No, no,
what
no.
is it I'm trying to say?
No,
What
because you were trying to get
Andy's
it out.
talking
You were trying to
about.
get it out, but he wasn't coming out.
Yeah.
Sorry, in the last 5 minutes, you insulted him so many times. You've called him cute, which is an insult in 2025.
You said I like doing everything in short, intense bursts, not just running.
Cute is an insult.
No, I quite like being called cute, mate, from you.
No, have you not heard that? Yeah, cute is an insult. Don't call anything cute anymore.
Have you heard?
Oh, is that
It's
insulting
like in
now?
sarcastic, like, oh, cute.
Oh, yes, my daughter does that to me all the time.
Oh.
And I'm
Hey, mate.
aware that that's sarcastic.
I never meant it as an insult.
Okay.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
I think that, it's because if you think about it, generally, certainly the 5K and 10K is very, very difficult to win a global medal or something like that if you were thinking about that as an athlete. But it's weirdly in the marathon, I don't think it's necessarily success is measured in medals in the same way. So I think as a British marathon runner, it's really exciting to break into the top 10 all-time times or to finish top 10 in a world major marathon or whatever. And that's got absolutely nothing to do with championship performance. It's purely like a time trial thing. And
That is true. I think that's heavily influenced by the fact that it's very, very unlikely that you are going to get the best marathoners all in the same race.
Yeah.
Like in the Olympic,
it's hard to put
like
one
they're
together,
they're
yeah.
constant, and that is largely down to the fact that athletes can be paid so much money to
Yeah.
go to different world majors, different races. So
Yeah, and
you
arguably
don't
it's
get that
very rare that
crossover.
the best marathoners are in the global championships, because often they're somewhere like Tokyo where the marathon's not that appealing to go and try and run and win that. But
Yeah.
the marathon's really focused on time, and you could get a lot of kudos for running, say, in the men, like I don't know, 2:08 marathon, which is still spectacular. But the equivalent on the track, if you did it as a percentage based on how far behind that is the rest of the world, you wouldn't get any credit or attention at all. And also there's you're not winning money running on the track. There's like no appearance fees, like there's no kit sponsorship and stuff for being like, if you're so that I think people are skipping over the track. And then what breeds success is competition. So if you look at women's marathon running in the women in the UK right now, the level of competition, anyone running in the 220s is so high. There's so many women running that fast.
Yeah.
They all push each other to be better.
Yeah.
But if that's the detriment of 1500 meters, 5k, 10k, I actually think it's not to the detriment necessarily of the 8 and 1500. I think we're still like incredibly competitive there in
Well, we
Britain
are,
in
aren't we?
particular. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can see that. But then the 5k and the 10k, I do think we're losing people there where they're not trying it out. And there'll be people who come to running quite late, maybe in their mid to late teens, and just go straight to running on the roads and never even try the track.
Do you think from an amateur level, for me and Rick, us average runners, do you think the training has an element of like a barrier for people entering into it? Because I've been, when I used to live in London, I used to go to Battersea track.
Yeah.
And I would say that actually had quite like a healthy population of people who were kind of more on the like amateur track level. But the training's so different. I think if you are like a road runner or a trail runner, you can leave your front door, you can go out for your training run, you can come back. You're probably still doing like shorter interval sessions. But I think track running, the rests are so long, the sessions are quite long as well.
Yeah, the rest not always long, but yeah.
But like definitely from like 400 down.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I don't think it's so different. You need a coach based. I think to be successful on the track, you need a more traditional athletics coach, and I think that's what's happening now. Is people are skipping that. And like the only way into running for me was through an athletics club, like an old school athletics club, and they always had a clubhouse at the track, and so you went and trained on the track. The coaches were based at the track.
Yeah.
Whereas now there are loads of running clubs that exist that aren't based at the track at all, and runners never set foot on the track. And there's loads of ways of getting access to training online, using your watch to coach you, an app and so on. And those are much easier to do just using GPS and just cracking on outside anywhere you've got access to.
Yeah.
That means people aren't going on the track, so it becomes intimidating. It's kind of this self-fulfilling, like reinforcing circle.
Yeah.
Would you be a track runner, Rick?
I love track, actually. I find it really
You're
enjoyable.
actually
I-
pretty
You're incredibly
nippy when
fast.
you
You
want to
absolutely
be.
smoked Sarah in the recent challenge we did on the track.
Well, I didn't want to mention it.
Although you
but
did drop the baton.
Yeah, I did drop the baton, yeah. Anna was pleased about that, wasn't she?
She was not. She was so cross.
Do you know what? We've got to do another bit of teamwork again in a few weeks.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. Oh, I was thinking about this
Girls
the other day.
versus boys, though.
Because, we've had that conversation about how you and I will never really know what it feels like to win a race. We'll never have that feeling. We'll never know. But I found it.
Did you?
So Albie, he's 2, yeah. Me and him went down the park on Saturday, beat him every time.
That is, you know what? That is exactly what my dad used to do to me. That poor boy's going to have so much childhood trauma.
All right.
He's grown up with Rick as his dad. He's already in a whole world of trouble.
Thank you so much for listening, watching. Tell your friends about us, and we'll see you again next week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.